Okay, so on the call right now is John Pomeroy, Outreach Director for Yes, California, but more important role. He's a mover and shaker with a group known as Return California. Originally, that was an idea. Oh, well, it's an idea that goes back centuries. The Indigenous have been doing it on their own. Non-Indigenous at the SCA have worked to get this conversation into the mainstream, and Return California is the group of half Calexit, half California Indigenous people that have taken it and become its own animal, if you will, or spirit beast, say a bear. John, what is Return California, and what are you trying to do?
Well, when I first started as outreach director, I made inquiries with organizations all over the state from every political walk. I reached out to Tea Party, I reached out to Libertarians, I reached out to Green Party, I reached out to Democrats and Republicans. I would talk to the state of Jefferson. I talked to people all over the place, and we spoke with several Indigenous people who said none of those conversations really matter unless you're talking about returning land to the Indigenous people of California. And upon doing some research, I found that they were 100% right. In the, I think it was 11 years that California was an independent nation, between independence from Mexico and being absorbed into the United States, we flew a big white flag with a red star on it. That was the battle jack of the nation of California. And all through that time period, there were people trying to return land to the tribes.
That's right.
So I brought this knowledge to our board meeting, and everyone on the Yes California board unanimously supported the idea of returning land to California's tribes. What was really exciting was when Gavin Newsom took office as governor, he made a formal apology. He made a governor proclamation denouncing the atrocities of the California sanctioned genocide of Indigenous people here, and established the Healing and Truth Council that's supposed to be listening to Indigenous people here and doing what they said. So we saw that happen after we launched Return California.
Yeah.
And the only publicity we got in the mainstream media was smears saying that no Indigenous person wanted this. And every Indigenous person that I showed that article to laughed. Like, they literally laughed. They're like, this is ridiculous. Every Indigenous person in California wants their land back. I can't hear you.
LA Times editorial board said, when Yes California got this idea out to the mainstream news, they wrote an editorial telling Californians, don't even talk about this, don't look at it. And my favorite part was, if Indigenous people in California wanted their land back, they would have already done it on their own. Yeah. That's LA Times for you.
Well, they're right about that. They're right about that. And after our first listening forum, where we invited Indigenous elders from the area where we hosted the forum to share their views on what it would take to get their support in an independent California, unanimously they said returning land.
Yeah.
And support of the initiatives that Indigenous people are driving already. And you don't have to look very far to find success. Here in Nevada County, the Nishanan just received 32 acres of land. They now own this land, and they are stewarding it the way that they did before colonization. It's happened with the Mountain Maidu. PG&E gave 300 acres back to the Maidu. Right. It's happened with the city of Oakland. Gave land, Oakland City Park land, to the Ohlone. It happened in Humboldt. The tribe there just received their island, their sacred island back.
Yes.
And this is the first year in 300 years that they will be able to hold their traditional ceremony on that land. This is happening all over the state. Every tribe that I've spoken with has some sort of initiative, some sort of land trust that they're working on. The Amamutsan in Monterey, San Benito County, they have their land trust. Karina Gould in Oakland, Emeryville, Berkeley has the Segorite Land Trust. So this is what we're talking about now. We're talking about amplifying all of these efforts using the Yes California platform through Return California. So it's exciting. There's a lot of stuff going down. The next listening forum will be hosted by Val Lopez, the chairman of the Amamutsan. And yeah.
So I want to transition so the viewers can follow along. So, John, COVID-19 has happened. The original listening sessions were in person. I think the first one was in Grass Valley and people were invited. But I think Return California, correct me if I'm wrong, has decided to go a new direction to respond and provide resources for the Indigenous. What is the plan for Return California for listening sessions in the future, sir?
We basically we've got the vehicle up to speed, and we're basically just gonna hand the wheel over to Indigenous people. We're going to make sure that all of the planning and organization and technical support is there, and all they have to do is log on, and we're gonna amplify whatever it is that they're talking about. So,
well, through in detail what you're planning a series of virtual conferences. Could you walk a person who doesn't know what Return California is? What are you trying to do with that, and what's the hope of that?
The hope is that we will get organizations within the state of California who are working on similar projects together into one arena to share resources. So to use the Amamutsan and the Ohlone as an examples, the Segorite Land Trust and the Amamutsan Land Trust are both doing the same work, but they are doing it independently of one another. I'm sure they're sharing resources, but they're just one example. All over the state, these land trusts are happening, and Return California has positioned itself in a place to amplify their efforts and to get people aware of what's happening and how they can help.
So, but to cover the nuts and bolts. So, Return California was trying to have Indigenous people hold a conference on their land, and then they would invite that tribe or nation would invite other people to come and say, how do you feel about returning federal land? Because of COVID-19, you can't now have those conferences physically. So I know that you and some of the other people have planned on having virtual conferences over Zoom. And what you're trying to do, I correct me if I'm wrong, is have Indigenous people say, I'm an Indigenous person from a California nation. I live in this area. I'm willing to host a virtual conference and invite other Indigenous people to join that conference. It will be recorded. Indigenous people will be talking about, yeah, we're okay with you. You want to return land to us. And then the role of Return California would be to promote that documented testimonies to non-Indigenous California. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And really just provide resources for those nations that request it. So